Hey guys, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a full-on custom knife by maker Sergey Rogovets. What initially introduced me to Sergey was some work he was doing on some production knives. Actually, he was making some beautiful scales for a lot of common fixed blade and folding knives that you can buy pretty much anywhere, and he was lending his own sort of special touch to them. Really nice stuff, really intrigued me, so I ended up interviewing him about a year ago. And at the time he had plans to make full-on custom knives, but didn't have the time. He was actually a very busy guy. Originally from Moscow. He moved over to the United States when he was 17. He followed his father here, and together they both work in New York City as jewelers. So that's his full-time gig. He's a jeweler. But in his spare time, he was doing things like making custom scales and doing stuff like modifying Zippos, like this really cool barbed wire Zippo that he made here. This thing is awesome. And lately he has been getting into making some custom knives. So that's what you see here. This is one of his customs. This is a hard use folder that he calls Titan, and this is actually the very first one of its kind. So some of the other stuff he's been working on, some very interesting sort of gentleman's folders and smaller EDC knives. But when I asked him about this one, he says that he has always been a big fan of hard use folders. He's been carrying them for years, so he wanted to take a crack at making one himself, and this one represents some of the things he looks for in a hard use folder. He doesn't say it's the perfect one, but it's got some quirks to it that he personally was looking for. So we will kind of explore some of those quirks. We'll take a look at all the details. But first off, let's just do some specs so you have some idea how big this thing is. We've got an overall length here on the Titan of 8 3/4 inches. We've got a 3 3/4 inch long blade and a weight of around 7.5 ounces. So it's a larger knife. I've got a couple other blades here to perhaps compare to the Titan. First up is a ZT-0550, and let's put a Spyderco Para 2 down as well. Always a nice knife to use to compare. So you can see Titan is certainly a large knife, lives up to its name. And let's take a closer look at that blade here. So what we have is really, it's a simple knife overall. It's a very simply made knife, not a lot of parts or bells and whistles on it, but he designed this knife to really be used every day. This was a custom, but he wanted it to be in the pocket of the user, getting tons of work done, not just sitting in a display case or on a shelf or something like that. So it's got a very simple design to it. The blade is a simple drop point. It's been given a high flat grind. It's got a nice edge applied to it. Really no frills on this blade at all. It came very sharp. Utilizes a thick piece of steel here, 4 millimeters thick. Comes to a very nice tip, strong tip, and the steel he selected for this one is A2. Now A2 is an air hardened tool steel, and it is very tough stuff. Many industrial applications for A2, and it's known mostly for its toughness. It's easy to sharpen, and it does take a nice edge, and it's also it holds on to an edge quite well. This one's been heat treated to around 59 HRC, and it's been cutting through all kinds of stuff in the few weeks that I've had it here. I'm really pleased with the performance of it. I think it will develop a little patina. It's starting to show a little bit here and there on it. It's not a stainless steel, so some care might need to be taken down here in Florida where it's kind of humid. Haven't noticed any issues, but so it's just me here. So depending on where you are and what you're doing, results could vary, but it is a very tough and durable steel. I think it's a nice choice for a hard use folder like this. And the handle, also simple, but again, uses nice big thick pieces of material, high quality material. It's a full titanium handle, This handle has been flame anodized, kind of unique. I'm sure you could finish this in a variety of ways, but very sturdy. You've got two large standoffs here. It does screw together, some oversized hex bolts there, and it's actually been kind of hand finished. Well, it's definitely been hand finished, but there's been sort of a slight texture applied to the titanium, and it might be a little too subtle to pick up in the camera, I'm not sure, but it just sort of ripples under the light, and it's cool because it sort of shows how it's been worked on by hand. I do like it. It doesn't add much in terms of traction, but it just gives a little bit of dimension to it. And of course, all the corners here have been rounded by hand, nicely beveled. It's actually very comfortable in hand, and that is what he was going for with this simple design. He wanted a handle that was relatively straight and nothing too complicated and easy to be grasped in any way. So it feels very nice like this. He's got a run of very functional jimping here. The jimping's been nicely cut, lines up perfectly, and it captures the thumb like that, just like it's supposed to. It feels great in reverse grip as well. So just a no-nonsense, functional handle. Let's take a closer look at the pocket clip. You can also see the knife closed. Nice slim profile. And the pocket clip it's a simple titanium clip, also flame anodized to match the handle here. It's actually quite rigid, nice stiff clip. So for a large knife like this, the pocket clip will hold it in place. And it's actually still easy to insert and remove from your pocket too, thanks in part to how smooth this titanium is. So I like the pocket clip a lot, well thought out, well implemented, simple and effective, just like the rest of the knife. Let's talk a little bit about deployment here. Of course, you've got some ambidextrous thumb studs. You've also got some phosphor bronze washers here, nice large washers. Makes for a very smooth and fast deployment actually. You can see there, just a flick of the thumb, launches open, and it's got a nice snap to it when that frame lock engages. So I like deployment. I like the deployment a lot on this knife. Lockup is outstanding. You can see he really knows how to make a frame lock. He's cut that out nicely, engages very early, and I have been flicking this one out a lot. I have been actuating it, trying to get a good feel for the knife. Very impressive, very, very impressive. You can see the way he's cut this out. He's actually included something of a lock bar stabilizer here, made out of carbon fiber. He's actually redefining or refining this design rather. He's wasn't entirely happy with it, and in subsequent versions it's going to be modified. It's going to be a little more elegant, and I think it does its job as is, but certainly this is his first effort to make a hard use folder, so things are going to change. He's going to slowly tweak the design, and the knife is going to evolve. So I think that's very cool. But all in all, everything is really well done here. The level of fit and finish is extremely high. It's very functional. I just love how this lock has been done. Everything is been precisely cut out. His classic training as a jeweler really does show through here. For such a simple knife too. It's interesting. It's a contrast between beautiful details, delicately calculated, and very high tolerances, but then it's also a big brute of a knife that is really designed to get some work done. So I think you did a fantastic job with it, and I'm very pleased to be able to share it with you. Quite excited. So let me know what you think of the Titan. I'm sure Sergey would be interested as well. And that's going to pretty much wrap up the review. So thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com. Take care, and I'll be back soon with another knife review.